Yeah, away we go. The Monday edition, the free agency edition, the Rashan Gary experiment is actually over this time edition. Mr. Irrelevant, Alex Strouf, Joshy DiMaggio, Will Sommers hanging out with you for the next hour as we react to all the chaos going on in NFL free agency, as well as the latest moves for Green Bay, who has been certainly active since we last spoke on Friday, including a pair of trades made in the last 48 hours that we will break down here as well. So good to be with you. Very, very excited to get into free agency because Joshy was giving me a hard time right before we did the Rashan Gary saga on Friday when he posted the goodbye and then he wasn't cut and he deleted it and he was hacked and all that, about how I was impatient and I was waiting for Brian Gutekunst to get in on the action. And get in on the action he certainly did throughout the weekend and into today. So plenty to break down with you, including Rashan Gary being traded to the Dallas Cowboys, including Colby Wooden being traded to the Colts in exchange for linebacker Zaire Franklin. Sean Rhyan is back as the Packers center, and a couple of Packers free agents have signed with their new teams. So plenty to get into over the course of the next hour. Joshy, hello.
Hey, Alex.
How are you, pal? You good?
Great.
Yeah?
Yep.
You seem tired. You all right? Is free agency
No, I
tuckering you out?
just find it weird that your decision was to just ask me how I was and not to actually start doing the, I don't know, the endless things and notes that happened over the weekend.
So he's already irritated, Will? This is how we're starting the Monday show when we've got all this exciting news.
He's down to brass tacks. Like, let's go.
Yeah, we got stuff to do.
Free agency is fast moving.
I'm just making
You're dilly-dallying.
Well, yeah, making sure I'm not missing anything because there's news every 14 seconds.
Diddling.
I'm sick of you already. This is going to be a long show.
The Green Bay Packers fleeced Jerry Jones again, and how are you? No one cares how I am.
That's not true.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, you've talked
I
to him
don't care how I am.
That seems like it's a problem.
We're here to do a radio show. We're here to entertain.
And I think your life can be entertaining. All right, so let's start with that because obviously that's the big news from
entertain and inform.
A little bit, yes, a little bit earlier today. So the Packers do not release Rashan Gary. They get out of all of the money rather than most of the money that they would have saved by just releasing him straight up. Jerry Jones is desperate for a defensive end. Who would have thunk less than a year after he traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers that the Cowboys are in desperate need for pass rush? So after Rashan Gary attempted to force the Packers' hands into releasing him and allowing him to kind of pick and choose where he ends up, he is traded under his current contract to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2027 fourth-round pick. That is the first round of the third day of the draft coming up next year, not this upcoming draft. But regardless...
By the way, did you say they get out of all of his contract because they do still have dead money?
Right, but if they had released him, they would have had to spend more this year rather than just trading his contract.
Correct.
So they get out of more than I think they were anticipating either way, I guess was more my point.
Yes.
And you said it. You used the word fleeced. Obviously, it's wonderful to get something rather than nothing for Rashan Gary and let him go to the open market, especially after whatever the hell went down on Friday.
Well, yeah, after he tried to
force his way out,
tank his trade market and become a free agent. Honestly, if I'm him, staying on his current contract is probably better for him in terms of.
Yeah, he wouldn't have made that much money.
I don't think so either.
Market,
so that part is interesting. He does get to pick his destination. I thought this was going to be Jair 2.0 and it was going to carry out forever, and the Packers are going to end up releasing him. So impressive, good on Goody. I think every trade offered, the Packers are looking to get rid of everyone. You start with Jerry Jones. That's just rule number one in the Goody playbook from now on.
Yeah, apparently.
Just go give him a chat, see what he's thinking, because fourth round pick, even that it's next year, is way more than I ever anticipated.
I just want to point out, a couple weeks ago, I said Rashan Gary will either be a Chicago Bear or a Dallas Cowboy. And here we are. Now, I didn't think this would be the path. I didn't think it would be via trade by any means. I thought it would totally be free agency. But he does wind up in Dallas. He is reunited, obviously, with Kenny Clark on their defensive line. But this is, it's a Brian Gutekunst masterclass in terms of fleecing Jerry Jones. Now, I don't think it qualifies for like elder abuse, right? Because he's just taking advantage of the oldest or one of the oldest general managers in the National Football League.
He's supposed to have a son there that's doing all that for him. What he actually does and how much power he wields, who knows?
Yeah.
Probably not a lot if we know about the egomaniac that is Jerry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great. I mean, I almost didn't believe it when I first saw it.
Yeah, I'm loving how rational everybody is, because I was honestly expecting a 6th or a 7th round pick.
Yes.
Not a 4th. And it seems like everybody, in our YouTube chat already here as we get started, the unanimous reaction is a 4th round pick is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Brian Gutekunst, by all means, has not been super successful in the first round. And we'll talk about Eric Stokes a little bit later, who got paid by the Raiders today. But he has not been very successful in the first round. So getting rid of those picks to acquire Micah Parsons, everybody seemed to be pretty okay with. You're always going to want to bring in Micah Parsons despite the cost. Then after that, he's been pretty good in the middle round, specifically the 3rd and 4th round over the course of his tenure as the Packers general manager. So adding another pick there does not bother me whatsoever. I think that's a great return on a guy we anticipated them releasing. Now, I want to go back to something you just said, Joshy, which was you maybe anticipated it could drag out like Jair Alexander.
Yeah.
I fear that might be what Elton Jenkins becomes.
That
now.
one's interesting to me, though, because you save $30 million on him. And I'm sure some teams value him and think he could probably still be a Pro Bowl level player. But with no guaranteed money left, and really you're not going to be losing a whole much, that one I'm a little puzzled by why. That one doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because the Packers converted Aaron Banks, which solidifies him for the next 2 years. So you're not going to have 2 starting left guards. You sign Sean Rhyan. Like, what do we do? That one's going to be even harder to sell than Rashan Gary, because they're going to go, well, what are you going to do with him? Where is he going to play? Are you going to try and convince him he's your starting left tackle next season over Jordan? No one's buying that. So everyone's just going to go, okay, we'll just wait. We'll just wait till he's on the market.
Exactly. Very true. Very true. All right, so that's the big one, obviously, Rashan Gary. The other big news over the weekend is, of course, the Packers trading defensive tackle Colby Wooden to the Indianapolis Colts. They get back linebacker Zaire Franklin, who will turn 30 years old in July. He was an second-team All-Pro just 2 years ago, led the league in tackles just 2 years ago. He's an experienced guy. He's a veteran. He's going to be in that 30-year-old threshold, but yet Gutekunst goes out and acquires Zaire Franklin to be the, not likely, he is the Quay Walker replacement on this Packers defense in the first year under coordinator Jonathan Gannon. The Franklin acquisition is interesting to me. I'm fine with it. Like I'm all good with it. It's a guy, like we mentioned, who was an All-Pro type guy a couple years ago. His salary is relatively low, only making $7 million a year. He comes in, can provide instant veteran presence in that defensive locker room, who all things considered, that defense is still very, very young across the board. So to get a guy with plenty of experience and certainly has had his highs in the NFL, I think it's all good. I don't necessarily anticipate him being a total game wrecker, Joshy.
No.
But I like the acquisition. It tells you they probably don't think Tyron Hopper is ready for a spot like that. So go get a veteran presence who's had his highs and can provide at least somewhat of a spark defensively, and likely, I would imagine, becomes your defensive play caller, which Quay Walker was previously. All good in my book.
Yeah, there's two things that sort of were puzzling, might be the wrong word, but he's going to turn 30 by the time the season starts, and he certainly seems to be on the back end of his best play. Will the veteran presence and a sure tackler, and because if you look at his grades in terms of tackling, he was very good at that. I think that is something we obviously recognize the Packers were bad at throughout the course of the season and could use an improvement. So that part's interesting. I mean, it's not a ton of money. The other puzzling part is your defensive line got even weaker from a spot we were all kind of targeting as the Packers need something to change here or need something to happen. And now they've let go an edge rusher in Rashan Gary, and they've let go Colby Wooden, who started games for them. He was a contributor. He wasn't just like
he started 16 games last year.
He wasn't just like a back end of the rotation type guy. Like he was a point of their offense. It sort of does signify to me that the Packers aren't done, be it free agency or the trade market, because you made a weak position even weaker to get better at linebacker, where they have depth, but apparently they don't like Isaiah McDuffie and Tyron Hopper enough to let those guys sort of figure it out there. And we still don't know for sure what exactly the defense is going to look like because we haven't heard Jonathan Gannon talk.
Right, exactly.
So, there's been one addition, but it's been subtraction too. So trying to parse out exactly what the Packers are going to end up looking like on the defensive front is something that I think we're going to be learning a lot over the next few days and maybe even weeks.
Yeah, obviously once you get to the draft, we'll know where the cupboard is still a little bare. But I think it's pretty obvious at this point right now, Joshy, that the defensive line as a whole has leapfrogged cornerback as the Packers' number one need.
Yes.
In terms of what they need to fill. Now, offensive line is certainly still a need, but they have their top 5 locked up with the extension of Sean Rhyan at center and the restructure of Aaron Banks, which flips some of his salary to save a little bit of money, but also kicks the can down the road a little bit with him. So from left to right, you have your offensive line solidified, at least at the top level. Still got to find some guys for depth there, but you're missing starters and depth at defensive line as a whole now with the trade of Rashan Gary, with the trade of Colby Wooden. You feel great about Micah Parsons once he returns. You feel good about Devontae Wyatt, who's playing on his 5th-year option this upcoming season. There's still a lot to be seen and a lot to be desired when it comes to Lucas Van Ness. And then defensive tackle was already a depth issue, and you traded a defensive tackle to acquire Franklin earlier this weekend. So defensive line has become the number one need for Green Bay. And that's where today and this week comes into play. Can the Packers go acquire, whether it be a splash or whether it be several depth pieces? Defensive line has become the number one need for Green Bay. And I know Goody understands that. And Goody understands the situation he's in. That's why he's gone ahead of time. The free agency just opened about 100 minutes ago, and he's already made multiple moves as we approach the new league year via trade. So he understands the moment. He's getting after it, and now we find out if there is some play in the free agent market for Green Bay, specifically at the defensive line.
I think it's interesting that the Packers have been linked to both Dexter Lawrence and Jalen Carter. The Jalen Carter thing's a little puzzling to me insofar as I thought he was the better of the two options that Philly had, but Philly decided to sign Jordan Davis to a market-setting deal, which kind of airmails their thoughts on Jalen Carter. If they're so willing to let him go, a guy who I thought was rather disruptive when he chose to be. Character concerns obviously were the big thing and what caused him to drop in the draft. And now they're ostensibly trying to deal him so they don't get nothing for him and letting him walk in free agency. That portion of this is what makes it interesting. I don't know if it ends up being either of those two guys because it doesn't seem like the Giants have any interest in trading Lawrence. But those guys would sort of slide right into a starting spot regardless and would be massive upgrades to the defensive line. So how they decide to parse that out or if they end up with, I've seen Javon Hargrave mentioned.
I have too, yes.
As a potential option there. I don't think that would be the move that got us all excited, but certainly would improve the defensive front, seeing as it's Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt and then just some guys at this point.
But again, you like Devontae Wyatt, you like Carl Brooks, but you'd like more there.
Yes. You need bodies.
And Colby Wooden was better than Carl Brooks in year 2. That's not to say Carl Brooks can't evolve into something.
I don't even know if that's true or not. Maybe. I don't know if Carl Brooks played enough.
Yeah, that's true. The other part with the Wooden thing is I'm not mad they traded him to go get a linebacker, but it does shallow your depth even more than it already was. But yeah, Colby Wooden's a completely replaceable player, at least what you got out of him the last 2 years. You just need to replace him with somebody. And that's the point here on the Packers defensive line. Mr. Relevant Free Agency Special, Alex Strouf, Josh DiMaggio, Will Sommers hanging out with you. Get in on the action on YouTube. ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison. Yeah, the big one just came through. Tyler Linderbaum, the number one ranked offensive lineman and the top center, which there was really only 2 after Sean Rhyan's re-signing on the open market. He had the market by the you-know-what, did Tyler Linderbaum, and he certainly capitalized on it. He is signing a record deal with the Las Vegas Raiders, 3-year, $81 million, which includes $60 million guaranteed for the 3-time Pro Bowler Tyler Linderbaum. The now former Baltimore Raven is headed to Vegas, over $27 million a year. Wow. Big one for him.
Yeah, that makes it pretty obvious why the Packers wanted to jump on the Sean Rhyan deal and get him at a cost-effective. Because when I saw the Sean Rhyan deal first, I was like, wow, that's more than I expected him to get.
$11 million a year, 3-year, $33 million extension for Sean Rhyan.
But then you start building in as you said, really only 2 available in free agency. There's a bunch of teams that need it. The Packers did well keeping their guy in-house, even if he's a good, not great, or a above-average player. Solidifying your offensive line that way with a guy you've had in your system, I think makes that move even. Yeah, I didn't expect the market to be that big for Linderbaum. I did anticipate close to 90, but only on a 3-year deal. Centers are getting their money.
Yeah,
and that's a position that has been lagging recently in terms of massive upgrades. People are like, do you really want to even draft a center in the first round? Well, guess what? If they're making $27 million, yeah, you do.
Yeah. It's always fun to see how the draft kind of moves every couple of years, like what the positional value is. For years, running backs, and it's kind of still the case. We saw it, in fact, this year in Chicago with Kyle Monungai, who was such a late-round pick, and he became such a good player for them. You can get value at running back in the late rounds. It seems like center is certainly trending upward.
Yeah, and it seems like as the cap continues ever increasing the way it is, every position eventually is getting there.
Yeah.
Maybe running back's going to be the one that continues to lag just because we know the abuse that position takes. But center for a long time was you could get really good players for pretty cheap. Yeah. And now that is no longer the case.
Pointed out in the YouTube chat with Dr. Denver Dan, Vikings and Bears suddenly needing a center as well. Tyler Linderbaum is off the board. Let's go to resident Bears fan Will Sommers. Did you have any expectations of the Bears getting him?
Not for that much. That's a lot of money. The Bears are towards the bottom half in the league and with their cap spaces at right now. They made a trade on Friday for some center from the Giants who I don't anticipate playing a big role. Hopefully not. He's not that good. They're going to have to add someone else. But Linderbaum was the dream, but, I mean, when you're going for that much, and I mean, shoot, if you want to go play for Vegas, be my guest. I mean, that's not going to be a real fun offense to play in for the next 2 years while they're still rebuilding.
Oh, what do you mean? Fernando Mendoza, man.
I mean,
if I'm setting the all-time record for pay for center, I don't care where I'm playing.
So I actually will point out
North Korea.
I will point out real quick though, Clint Kubiak, who's obviously a very smart offensive mind, is their new head coach in Vegas. They're going to have Fernando Mendoza as their quarterback. They now have Linderbaum in front of him, snapping him the ball. Ashton Genty behind him, and Brock Bowers. I mean, that offense is actually, it's got some pieces. I'm not saying they're going to be the best team in the league. They play in a very difficult division with the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs, but maybe that offense could be something in Vegas under first-year head coach Clint Kubiak.
Or Fernando Mendoza just sucks. And
that is also certainly an option.
Yeah.
By all means. We don't know how he'll
I think they'd be best served to trade that first pick. Get the desperate Jets.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to, though.
I don't think they will, but imagine the haul you could get for that guy and then wait for what everyone thinks. I mean, this happens all the time. It happens seemingly every other year where there's like the next year's class.
Yeah, next year.
And then you do see the drafts where like 4 or 5 quarterbacks come off the board in the first round. But it's Mendoza, and that's really it in terms of first-round talent. There's certainly almost likely will be 2 to 3 taken in the first round, but when you talk about first-round value and first-round players, it seems there's just Mendoza.
Let's go back to the center position. We kind of breezed right over it. Yesterday morning announced the Packers have reached an extension with a guy who only played 9 games at center for them, and Sean Rhyan, a mid-round pick from a few years ago. He is back in Green Bay, 3-year, $33 million extension for what we assume will be their center of the future. Obviously played several years at right guard, kicked over once Elton Jenkins got injured this year, and seems to be their center of the future. You and I have talked about this a few times throughout the offseason. That's a guy I did want to see them bring back. $11 million a year was not what I anticipated, but given the lack of interest and the lack of talented centers on the market, as we were just alluding to with Tyler Linderbaum headed to Vegas, you're good with this re-signing, I assume, right? Lock up that position, keep the guy in-house, and just keep it moving.
He's also, in terms of what it does to the team and solidifying the team, I think that's valuable. But I also think just like a guy who didn't play at all as a rookie, they called overweight in his second year, and then we're switching in and out with Jordan Morgan throughout points of his career, for him to then get that much money and to sign in Green Bay is sort of to me is impressive to withstand all that. Like, coaches don't call their players overweight all that often and out of shape. And now that guy gets $33 million in a deal. I do think he played well, and I do think he was better than Elton Jenkins at center.
Yeah.
So I think he earned it. As with a lot of things, sometimes the Packers have to dumb themselves into stuff, because Sean Rhyan going into the season was not preferred to. If they had their druthers, it would have been Elton Jenkins and then Jacob Monk behind him. And Jacob Monk seemingly can't play. I mean, I think the contract extension tells us that. They have no intentions of him seeing the field. And then Elton Jenkins was just a failure at the position change. And I don't think that's necessarily fair to Elton Jenkins, because I still think he's a good left guard. But they made a move and they solidified it, and they saw the writing on the wall of the Linderbaum stuff. And the next guy who's going to get a deal for center is probably going to be overpaid for how quality is. Because there's a bunch of people that need a center.
If you look at like the consensus top 100 list, there was only 2 centers on there. Sean Rhyan was maybe at the bottom of those lists, and that's why the Packers decided to bring him back. It maybe a hometown discount of sorts. But Cade Mays signed before Linderbaum, and that's it. Those were the centers on those lists. So we will see. I don't know who else is out there in terms of centers, but
I mean, Biotic got released and then got a raise.
Right, with Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah.
So I think the Commanders might be regarding that one. Whenever you let a guy go and then he makes more money than he would have made staying, you're not feeling great about that.
Yeah.
That's not ideal.
It's true. It's true. All right, that's Sean Rhyan. We're all good with that. Let's roll through some of the other news that's Packers adjacent from today. Let's start with quarterback Malik Willis, who's heading to Miami. What'd you call them? Green Bay South?
Yes.
The Miami Dolphins. Obviously, John Eric Sullivan, the GM. Jeff Hafley, the head coach. Now Malik Willis, likely.
They've also taken defensive assistants there, too.
Right,
yeah.
true. And Willis will be what looks like their new starter. He's going to average over $22 million a year, 3-year, $67.5 million deal for Malik Willis. He was the best quarterback available in many people's eyes, and he obviously lands the biggest contract of any quarterback, 3-year, $67.5 million. Malik Willis is no longer the backup in Green Bay. He will be the starter more than likely in Miami. Not unexpected at all. I think this was probably the favorite in terms of a landing spot for Willis. It was between this and Arizona. Miami comes through after they released Tua early this morning. Makes a ton of sense.
Yes, I actually think he's cheaper than I anticipated. We just saw Alec Pierce get all that money.
We'll get to that in a moment.
And then a starting quarterback ostensibly, because Tua's gone.
Yep.
They've made the Dolphins announce that. And he's going to start for at least the next year, and at $22 million.
You'd think, I would imagine there's some sort of competition with him and yours.
Yes. We saw Quinn. He never showed anything that,
he's not good.
That Malik has. So if he ends up being good, they got themselves a hell of a deal. And if that works, that's a great way to stomach a $99 million cap hit that comes with Tua Tagovailoa departure. So if it works, that is going to be a great way to fix that position. Good for Malik. He went from a guy his former teammates were saying didn't know ball, which is amongst the biggest insult you can pay to a quarterback in the NFL. It wasn't he's not very good. It was he doesn't know the game. From Liberty, came and didn't get much of a shot in Tennessee. Comes to Green Bay, gets some Matt LaFleur, Sean Mannion, and next thing you know, he's getting $45 million guaranteed. It's a good deal.
It is a good deal.
Gig. Good gig if you can get it.
I can't, unfortunately.
No,
but,
there's still time.
Well, you might be able to. You could be a starting quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I'm still pursuing the World Baseball Classic in 4 years, so that's my next training point.
For the U.S.?
After I didn't make the Brewers this year. Yeah.
There's still time. Season hasn't started.
It seems like they're about to lock up their roster, so I don't know if I'll make it.
That's all right.
I put my name in the hat, though. I gave it all I could give.
Mm-hmm. That's
I
all.
put out some really good film, some good metrics, but I guess they just weren't interested.
The other Packers departure is edge rusher Kingsley Enagbare. Jets agree to a 1-year, $10 million deal with Enagbare. JJ's gone, and we talked about the depth already, Joshy, but trading Rashan Gary earlier today and now losing JJ Enagbare, you've got to kind of, I don't want to say completely reinvent because you feel good about some of the pieces there. Obviously Parsons, obviously Van Ness, the two rookies from this past season. In 99 will Shine Barron, Sorrell, and Colin Oliver. You want to see them grow and obviously get more of playing time in terms of the 2026 season, but you lack depth there, and losing J.J. Enagbare, a guy who we thought maybe the Packers would bring back, certainly does not help that depth.
Yeah, to me, Kingsley Enagbare is not a guy you want to pay $10 million to. You have young assets there that you have cost controlled. So with some of these contracts and some of the extensions that we anticipate to come, you have to save money somewhere. And your third or fourth option at edge is probably not a guy you want to be paying $10 million. And that's just the reality of having the big contracts like you do, which you're happy to pay for Jordan Love and Micah Parsons. There has to be some cost savings, and a guy who had 2 sacks on the season is not really a preferred option at $10 million. As good as I think he was for stretches, and the fact that he took snaps away from Rashan Gary, that all I think factors in, but I'm okay with the move. I understand why it happened, and you use those draft picks, you use that draft capital. Those guys are bound to see the field.
Aaron Glenn certainly making investments in New York, signing edge Kingsley Enagbare, edge Joseph Osai, and linebacker DiMaggio Davis, all headed to the Jets today. So watch out, New England. Watch out, Buffalo. Here come those New York Jets.
He's the leader for most likely to be fired first, right?
I'd have to think about that for more than 2 seconds, but my gut says yes.
You need to be quicker on your feet.
I can't think of who else it would be. I mean, everybody that we thought would get fired got fired.
For the most part, and then some.
Go ahead, Will.
Travis Etienne will be signing with the New Orleans Saints this season.
Interesting.
Okay. Tells you what you need to know about Alvin Kamara, probably.
Yes. Well, he was floated in trade talks, and he said, I'll retire.
It's Shuck season. Shuck season's officially back. Saints are back. They're going to shuck it up.
Shuck it up. Shuck it up. Okay, interesting. That's probably the best running back remaining on the board after the news from earlier today that running back Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP, is headed to Kansas City and completely reset the market, which is good for him. He deserves it after winning a Super Bowl MVP. But Travis Etienne headed to New Orleans, Joshy's favorite city. The biggest, maybe one of the biggest news of the day, probably the biggest news in terms of the dollar sign, Joshy, you mentioned it a bit earlier, is wide receiver Alec Pierce, who got an extension with the Indianapolis Colts. 4-year, $116 million contract extension, an average annual value of $27 million a year. And whatever, Pierce is a fine receiver. They trade Michael Pittman to the Steelers. He's going to become their number one, at least for this upcoming season. But I don't worry necessarily about Pierce. I worry about the impacts this now has on a future Christian Watson deal. Because Christian Watson, if I'm Christian Watson's agent, obviously you're waiting to see what he gets before you negotiate an extension. Because you feel, if you're Christian Watson, I'm a better receiver, I'm a bigger threat than Alec Pierce, who I think led the league in average yards per reception. But $27 million a year, that's going to be a hefty price tag when it comes to the Christian Watson future in Green Bay. And that's the part that concerns me, because you've already got one of the highest paid quarterbacks, you've got the highest paid defensive player, and Micah Parsons, and $27 million a year because he signed it after 11 a.m. He became the highest paid wide receiver free agent ever.
It's 29 per year.
Did I do bad math there?
Yeah.
29 per year.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's the highest paid receiver ever.
He's the eighth highest paid wide receiver in all the NFL right now.
Which he is not the eighth best.
No, not close. I don't want to be that dismissive of him. I think he's more talented than we've seen.
He's a good receiver.
Him and Christian Watson have pretty much the same exact case for being, like, Christian Watson has every right to be paid as much as him. And I think probably would be if he were to hit the open market. That price, I don't know if I said it on this show, if I said it on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. I incentivized the Packers to try and get it done before free agency opened because I feared what Alec Pierce could end up getting paid.
But if you're Christian Watson's agent, you're saying we're waiting.
Right, you're saying right. What you do is you make him an offer and hope the guaranteed money and the structure is enough to make him go.
That's over the top.
And I might be able to get more had I hit free agency, but I'm locking in $60 million, $65 million.
What we call it this time of year, we haven't said this in a while, generational wealth in this program.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, he would be wise to wait, and I think it's going to pay off for him. It becomes interesting when you start figuring that in, when you hear Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks have been in trade talks. The Packers made it clear they were not interested in trading Jaden Reed to this point, and I think you start putting the pieces together where if Christian Watson gets 30 or plus, you're looking at Jaden Reed and going, well, I hope we can most likely get him for less than that.
Right.
Just because of the size and speed combination for wide receivers in the NFL is so coveted that a Jaden Reed guy you could get for cheaper and a more team-friendly deal than, like, there's a potential Christian Watson just balls out this year and becomes even more expensive. And he blows the Alec Pierce numbers out of the water come free agency time.
Another wide receiver signing. We'll wait to see what the contract looks like, but Wan'Dale Robinson is headed to Tennessee. Yeah, he's reuniting with Brian
Dable.
Dable.
Was airmailed.
We'll see what the number is, but Titans have plenty of cap space, so it could be big. I don't think it will be by any means in the Alec Pierce wheelhouse, despite Wan'Dale Robinson having a pretty nice season, all things considered. Certainly a coming out party for him after Malik Neighbors went down in New York. Pierce just got over the 1,000-yard mark this season. 47 catches, 1,003 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2025. It's his first 1,000-yard season. He's making close to $30 million a year now. Welcome to the NFL, baby.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious.
Nobody's getting paid less anytime soon.
No, that is true. Very true. I'm curious what that means in terms of a timeline now for the Christian Watson extension, because I think we all anticipate him and Tucker Kraft will be extended, I would guess, prior to the season start in September, but it's a matter of when, more so than if for me with Christian Watson's future in Green Bay, because he the way he exploded once he returned last year was pretty clear he can be a number one receiver for this Packers offense. And that money is just, but again, I've got to reframe my brain a little bit because the salary cap keeps going up and up and up and up and up. But $29 million for a receiver is bizarre to me, especially a guy that is as, I don't want to say Alec Pierce is unproven, because again, I think he's a really good receiver, but he's 4 years in, 157 catches, just under 3,000 yards in 4 seasons and 17 touchdowns. That's 47, 1,003, and 6 this year. Lands him $29 million a year. Go ahead, Will.
We have details on the Wan'Dale Robinson. 4 years, $78 million, $38 million guaranteed.
You said 4 years, 78?
$78 million.
Okay, so 78 divided by 4. Let me get my calculator out. 78 divided by 4 is 19 and a half. So certainly less than Alec Pierce, but Christian Watson's certainly going to be in the neighborhood more.
Wan'Dale,
What has he done?
he's not very good.
Yeah.
He had a pretty good year this year once Malik Neighbors went down.
No, he didn't. He just got the ball a lot because they didn't have anyone else to throw to. It's the Alan Lazard.
Hey, 92 catches.
Yeah. And look at his yards per catch.
11.
Yeah. he was just, he benefited from being healthy.
That's completely fair.
Yeah, he's not a very good player. That number is, I don't want that guy on my team for that much.
But that's back-to-back years with 90 catches.
He is the newest extension of Jarvis Landry with seemingly less juice.
Great comp.
Guys who just hog targets, not because they're on a good offense, but because there's no one else to throw the ball to.
Yeah, 280 combined targets the last 2 years.
Isn't Jarvis Landry's nickname Juice, too?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Good play,
and he
Josh.
didn't have juice.
Nice.
Towards the end, he didn't.
He didn't really have juice.
He was good when he was in Miami. He was good the first year he was in Cleveland.
He was a short yardage merchant.
It's probably the end of the list there.
Yeah. We don't need to go as deep as we have on Jarvis Landry.
I like reflecting on old NFL players that got paid, especially on a day like today.
When you look at those guys, you're like, that's a fine option. There's a reason bad teams pay those players.
Yeah. And, well, Tennessee, I mean, they're probably attempting to take a page out of the New England playbook from a year ago. But also, you have all this cap space. You might as well go be the big spender. Because you saw success from teams last year, right? Seattle and New England were both big spenders in free agency, and they made the Super Bowl. Not saying Cam Ward is leading them to a Super Bowl anytime soon. I'm just saying you're.
Also, just to circle back on Alec Pierce quick, he was 4th on his team in receptions, and he was only 1 ahead of Jonathan Taylor. Warren, Pittman, and Downs all had more receptions than him, but he led the team in receiving yards because he was just big explosive play after one.
He's fast.
Yeah.
Very fast.
Which Michael Pittman got a new deal that isn't, or did he get traded? No, he got
traded.
And his deal's not as good as Alec Pearson's.
He got traded to Pittsburgh. So Mike McCarthy acquires Michael Pittman, which, I mean, they've got some big-ass targets on that team now.
Yeah.
Because they've got Darnell Washington, who I think is like, 6'8"? He's huge.
He's like 300 pounds.
And then obviously Michael Pittman's very tall. DK Metcalf is very tall. So get the Steelers in the red zone and just throw it up and see what happens. And that's going to be their strategy coming up in 2026. We just got to figure out who their quarterback's going to be. Is it Aaron Rodgers or somebody else? So NFL free agency continues on this Monday. A reminder that all these deals technically are not finalized until Wednesday, the start of the new league year, which means Rashan Gary technically hasn't been traded yet, but he will be. That's the big news for me. And then the other thing is Brian Gutekunst recognizing the moment, right? So we talked about it a little bit on Friday that if you're going to fill the needs you need to fill, and the Packers have plenty of them. They actually have more now than I feel like they did Friday with trading Colby Wooden. They have a bigger hole at defensive tackle. They have a hole at defensive end. They have a hole at cornerback. They need offensive line depth. He doesn't necessarily need to get super active at this moment because I think he's going to be scraping the bargain bin a little bit in terms of looking for smaller deals, but several bodies at all of those positions. You don't need a starting right tackle per se, but you could certainly use a backup. On the defensive side, do you trust Carl Brooks to step in and be, the heavy snap count guy at defensive tackle alongside Devontae Wyatt? Maybe, but you need some other options as well, acquired through free agency more so than you need them acquired through the draft. Cornerback is the position that intrigues me, Josh, because you, in theory, could just run it back. They're all under contract, and Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine and Nate Hobbs. But that doesn't seem like a super wise choice. Now, I'm not saying go get Reek Woolen because you probably can't afford him. But maybe a depth free agent that's not super expensive and a draft pick or two at corner could certainly help. Defensive tackle, I'm really intrigued to see how they approach the defensive tackle holes because I don't really know what's out there in terms of a quality starter by any means. There's a couple names out there. Javon Hargrave is obviously one we mentioned earlier the Packers have been linked to. And then defensive end, is it just like Lucas Van Ness and Colin Oliver are picking up the slack of Rashan Gary now that he's been traded? That's another one I'm having a hard time figuring out.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Gutekunst said the two places they needed more competition at were linebacker and cornerback. I certainly think cornerback is the last one there, but how do they view the draft and what do they think they're going to be able to get there? Is the competition they view just a second-round pick, which is, to me, I think is as good, if not, or if not potentially better than trading for Zaire Franklin. Like if they commit a high capital pick to that, then that to me is ample at that position. I think maybe you can add another lower end free agent, just competition, sort of try and push the guys. But I don't think the Packers are going to go without one or two more guys there by the time training camp starts. So I've said it all along. I think they're happier with what they got from their two corners. I think Carrington Valentine's tackling is what brought him off the field towards the end of the season. But Nate Hobbs is here to stay as well. So there's going to be those guys on the field still in some fashion. I don't know whose role is going to drop or exceed, but it doesn't seem like the Packers are that worried about cornerback. Otherwise, you'd be hearing about one.
That's true. And it felt similarly last year. Obviously, They signed Nate Hobbs last year, but they don't draft one. Or they drafted one in the 7th round who ended up never playing a game for them.
Yeah.
And Micah Robinson. So curious to see what's addressed for Green Bay. Because we can point it out. It's just a matter of what they do / if they do anything. And then secondly, how they attack the draft in a month. That's where things really start finalizing your roster and you start figuring it out. Okay, who's going to play where? Who's going to do what? What holes are going to be filled via free agency? That's the part I'm really curious to see for Green Bay. How about Jahan Dotson? Yeah, going to the Falcons. And then guard David Edwards is headed to the Saints.
Saints are building a contender.
Are you on the
AFC South contender down there.
You're on the early.
Technically, every team in the NFC South is a contender, but
David Edwards, I bring up, by the way, who played for the Bills, previously won a Super Bowl with the Rams, played at Wisconsin, so he is headed to New Orleans, why I bring that one up. Downers Grove North, is that Illinois, Will?
it is Illinois.
How close is that to you?
It's the southwest suburbs, I believe. Southwest to me, so like an hour, maybe.
Okay, so
not super
very
far.
close. Got it. All right. Well, free agency continues to roll. I'm just trying to keep my eye on all this because this is going quick. I love it. I love it. What position do you think they're most likely to attack in free agency?
Probably defensive tackle, if I were to guess, just because they are so depleted there now. Maybe we see edge or corner, but that to me would be the leaders of the camp. I'm fascinated to see what Brian. The moves we've seen happen thus far have totally airmailed something happening at defensive tackle. It seems impossible to not either take a big swing at a trade or in free agency. You just can't keep losing guys up front. A spot we all know was a glaring issue towards the end of the season. Now, obviously, Michael Parsons is back, and that's a factor, but he only plays one spot.
Well, and Devontae Wyatt's back.
If he could play more, I would love for him to clone him. I'd play him at a 5 tech if we needed. He can rush from anywhere, but that's not going to happen. Technology hasn't gotten there yet.
Well, for dogs, it has.
What would you pay
Tom Brady?
What would you pay for a clone of Micah Parsons? Because it's not Micah Parsons,
but it's still
a
Micah
clone.
Parsons' ability.
Seemingly, can you clone exact athleticism if you're doing a one?
Well, you'd want to
one?
flip it ideally, right? Like you want him to be left-handed rather than right-handed, probably. I mean, I don't know that I can make this decision, but I'd say I'd pay him the same. Just have the 2 highest paid
Give it a
defenders.
shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how sustainable that is,
I don't either.
but
When you clone, do you have to clone a baby?
Ask Tom Brady.
that's what I said. Yeah, Tom Brady's cloning dogs and stuff, so
I think you have to clone a baby. I think that's where
you can't clone a full-blown adult.
We'd have to wait a few years.
Do you think Tom Brady's going to try and clone Tyler Linderbaum? Linderbaum?
I think
He could use the help.
I think he's eligible for anything. He's a weirdo.
Is he dating Alex Earl?
For those that don't know, Alex Earl is an influencer.
Who previously dated Braxton Berrios?
Yes.
Tom Brady's former teammate.
Uh-huh.
There's how big is the age gap?
I believe it's like 30 years, 20 plus years, right? It has
I
to
think
be.
it's like 26 years,
Yeah.
27 years. And they've been spotted together multiple times. So, did you see Joe
Yeah,
Burrow was out with Jessica Alba?
It did.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with that?
He's probably just trying to get his mind off of all the edge rushers he's going to have to play
What do you-
in division this year.
What do you mean? What's up with that? One of the most
Wait, so
eligible
the-
bachelors on earth, getting paid tons of money, who's extremely handsome, is going out with a very attractive movie actress.
It's like the people that were shocked that Justin Herbert's going out with. Wait, so the starting quarterback of the NFL team in Los Angeles is going out with a megastar?
Yeah.
Huh?
Uh-huh.
Scratching my head at that
Now
one.
the age gap is
That's more what I was
Yes.
asking. The Justin Herbert one was never confusing to me. You're the quarterback of a Los Angeles football team. You are the most eligible bachelor in
Yeah.
the city. And okay, well, go ahead.
Raiders have agreed to terms with Vikings wide receiver Jalen Naylor on a 3-year, $35 million deal, including $23 million guaranteed
He's getting paid too.
in division.
and I'm
Out of division
I'm
now.
worried about the costs. For sure.
Christian
I mean,
Watson's
he
going to
was-
be so expensive.
Jalen Naylor was what, like the 3rd best wide receiver on the Vikings this
that
season?
might be
Maybe?
that might be a compliment. Yeah.
He wasn't very good. He's not very good. Between
think-
him and Wandale.
Is the wide receiver market that weak?
I think the Raiders are also just overspending on everybody. It seems like I think they had the most cap
The
space
bad
coming
teams
into
have to do
today.
that.
But
Bad teams have to do that. It's the same with the Titans. It's the same point I was making earlier. If you suck and you have the money, you got to spend it.
What was the market like for Jalen Naylor though? Like I can't imagine it was like the Raiders were in a bidding war and had to pay that much for him.
Maybe they were.
bad teams bid against themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Don't let him slip. If you like a guy, don't let him slip. Just pay him. I have a feeling it's not going to pay off for the Raiders. Though I'm talking myself into their offense all of a sudden. But Jalen Naylor doesn't really move the needle for me. But Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Tyler Linderbaum, and Fernando Mendoza move the needle for me.
Tyler Linderbaum thing is crazy. He's getting paid $12 million more than the next center.
Yeah, which is what,
It's
Creed
wild.
Humphrey?
Yeah, Creed Humphrey.
And Creed Humphrey's making, I think, like $7 million more than Sean Rhyan. And Sean Rhyan became one of the highest paid centers.
Creed Humphrey taking one pick after Josh Myers. Never forget.
I've never been told that before. It's the first I've heard of that.
Forget.
First I've heard of that.
It was right there.
Well, there's a lot of those moments, Joshy.
See, that one, yes, I understand. But everyone was talking about Creed Humphrey going in that range and being the best option. And Goody ran up to the podium and said, give me this kid from Ohio State.
I'd like to point out, everybody was saying how great Christian Gonzalez was going to be.
Yep.
And they drafted LVN instead. They also drafted him over Will McDonald, who's pretty darn good as well, if you want to stick positionally. But Christian, if you had Christian Gonzalez on this team, you're feeling a lot differently about your cornerback room.
Yeah.
But I guess if you don't have Lucas Van Ness, you're feeling a little bit differently about your defensive end room.
I don't know how much.
Yeah, I don't know how much either. I'm just trying to justify myself to not be sad about the missing out on Christian Gonzalez portion. All right, so I guess what are the big names that are still out there that I should know about? Because I feel like a lot of them are gone. In terms of, obviously, Linderbaum was a high one. Malik Willis was a high one. We're still waiting on, what, Trey Hendrickson?
Yes.
Rasheed Walker's obviously still out there for Green Bay.
What's Romeo Doubs going to get?
He's going to get paid.
I mean, if Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Naylor are getting that much,
He's going to get paid.
yeah, it's going to be a nice day for him.
Especially for a guy that you don't really feel like he can create a lot as a wide receiver. Like he's kind of just like we saw a million times, a 5-yard in a
He's a
comeback route.
station guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, obviously,
That's baseball talk.
I ignored that.
That's baseball.
Yeah.
Tariq Woolen is still out there. He's the top corner. Or actually, I think Alante Taylor is also still out there.
Shaheed.
Oh, is he a free agent?
Yeah.
I missed that. I would love if the Packers got him.
Do you think A.J. Brown moves at all today?
I keep hearing no. Or the initial offers or the initial cost for him was absurdly high.
That could just be Howie, though.
We have to eventually that thing eventually got to hit a crescendo, right? A.J. Brown in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think they hate each other. But I also think everyone else hates A.J. Brown and doesn't want him, so...
Hey, Will, a signing, at least for Chicago, that we have not talked about. Chicago now home to both Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, the safety from Seattle, 26 years old, signs a 3-year, $40 million deal. Jaquan Brisker is a free agent, so I assume that's just his replacement?
Yeah, him and Kevin Byard are both free agents, so not sure if either one of them are going to make it back to Chicago, but in my short research that I've done reading the Seattle Seahawks Reddit, it seems like they're upset that he's leaving, so I'm going to go ahead and say good signing. Young player, too, so got him for 4 years, 26 years old, coming off a Super Bowl, was one of their starters on a great defense, so can't be upset about it.
He says, I read a subreddit.
Yeah, you just got. That's the first thing you got to do. You go to the other team's fan base and see if they're upset about it, and if they are, like, you think the Cowboys fans went to our comment section and were like, "Wow, they're way too happy that Rashan Gary's gone. We might have got fleeced."
Yeah, they probably are thinking that because everybody has been kind of saying, all right. And again, I think Eric Stokes, a name we haven't really mentioned yet. Eric Stokes signs a 3-year, $30 million extension with the Las Vegas Raiders just a couple years after leaving Green Bay. He's revitalized his career via change of scenery. That could be the case for Rashan Gary. I'm not ruling that out.
I am. He's viewed as like a replacement level player right now.
Oh, I don't think but so is Eric Stokes. I don't think anybody's looking at Eric Stokes and going, oh, he's a top 5 corner in the league. That's not what I'm saying about Rashan Gary, but I think he can go be a top 20 guy.
Oh, it'd be his first time.
I was just about to say, I think he could get a double-digit sack season, which once again you can say.
First time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about what Rashan Gary might be doing.
Oh, I don't think we will ever at any point look back on the Rashan Gary trade and go, that was the wrong move.
You know, I saw
I'm bookmarking that.
Famous last words.
An interesting tweet from, was it JJ Leahy on Twitter, who said, notice how no Packers have said anything about their disappointment in Rashan Gary no longer being on the team?
It's a great point by him.
Micah Parsons was tweeting at the same time about guys he thought were underrated pass rushers. None of them were Rashan Gary.
Yeah, I mean, he was trading how sad he was when Colby Wooden got traded.
Yes.
We've got nothing? Seriously?
Nothing.
Oh, I've got to do my own.
Also, no
independent research.
updated graphic from Rashan Gary. He's got to make another post, right? On Instagram?
I don't know.
It's also crazy that him and Franklin use like the exact same graphic, it
Template,
looked like. Yeah.
Well, you just toss that in ChatGPT and it probably spits out something similar.
Some people are saying Zaire Franklin was the one who hacked Rashan Gary.
Oh, dude, the best thing is Micah Parsons, right when the trade went down, said, losing that hour of sleep really throws you off because it's still pitch black outside.
Did you also see him talking about what he looks for in pass rushers? Can you read that tweet to me?
Yeah, when I'm rushing or watching other rushers, college or NFL, I'm looking for a few things. Do their feet die or keep driving? Are their hands active and violent? Can they get to a second move? Maybe even a third. The best pass rushers don't rely on one move. They have counters for everything. Is that a subtweet?
If you were to describe what has caused Rashan Gary to fall flat, it's all those things. The feet being active and constantly moving while he quits. Having more than one move, he's only got speed to power. How many spin moves did you see executed by Rashan Gary that led to a sack? Virtually none.
Mm-hmm.
His was always just kind of going through the guy in front of him. Seems a lot like a subtweet to someone.
Yeah.
And to not even get the, you don't even have to say it, like, bummed to see my man go. Wish him best in the future. They were counterparts on the same defense.
This has been a blast. I'm loving today.
It's a great time of the year.
It feels like we should just have a couple of brewskis on the table and we could sit here all day. A little college basketball later tonight, a couple of championships. The Fun Belt tonight. Fun Belt and the SoCon, I believe, conference championship
you
games.
lost me.
You're still not into college basketball.
Not the Fun Belt.
Yeah, what?
I'll be watching the Big Ten tournament for certain.
USA also plays Mexico tonight.
Yeah.
What time's that? At 6?
I think
7?
6.
Paul
Paul Skeen's taking the mound.
Let me tell you that I'll be watching Paul Skeens miles before. I don't even know who's still in the Sun Belt. Who cares about the Sun Belt?
I know James Madison's in the Sun Belt.
Good for them.
They are not in the championship game, though.
Okay, lost me.
All right, I'm sorry.
You could name any two teams right now, and I'd be like, yeah, I gotta believe that they're actually a Sun Belt.
What about the SoCon? You know anything about the SoCon?
Nope.
Appalachian State, are they in the SoCon? No.
I don't believe so.
I saw Boston hit a buzzer beater over Navy last night. That was cool.
That did
see
happen. That did happen. The Sun Belt tonight, Georgia Southern versus Troy. You want to know who the star of Georgia Southern is?
Is it a former Badger?
It is not.
Good guess, though.
It is a guy whose father was known very well in the NBA for being very short.
Muggsy Bogues?
Nope. Spud Webb.
Huh.
Spud Webb averaging over 15 points a game for Georgia
Spud
Southern.
Webb Jr.?
It's just Spud Webb. Maybe they're not related.
How tall is he?
6'4".
Seems hard for Spud Webb to put out a 6'4" guy.
I mean, my dad was only 5'7".
Is he Spud Webb's kid?
Yeah, did you just make that up? Just because they have the same name?
I may
Or do you
have.
know for a fact that that's
no, I
his
do
kid?
not know for a fact. I do
Based
not
on
know for a fact.
available records, former NBA player Spud Webb does not have any publicly identified sons.
So Spud Webb of Georgia Southern
So
is
that
not
would make
related to Spud Webb?
So that would
it-
make sense why
it
his son is
appears,
6'4".
it appears his nickname, he's given a nickname Spud in his actual name.
Tavares.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good research.
Fake news. So
Two-time Sun Belt Player of the Week, though.
he's the son of Chell Smith. I feel like if his dad was Spud Webb, that would be in his background on the Georgia Southern website.
That's probably true. Captain Matty Ice chimes in. Furman and East Tennessee State in the SoCon tonight. Some of the best Champ Week games, Matty Ice says. I love that.
I can't believe you just gave me Georgia Southern talk and then incorrectly informed me that Spud Webb's son was the leading scorer.
I just assumed that Spud Webb. Yeah, it can't be.
This guy.
Why? Because he played for the Hawks and his son's playing for Georgia Southern?
Yeah. Connect the dots there, man. Connect the dots. All right. We will keep you posted for the next couple minutes, wrapping up the show with you. Will really wanted to talk about something and what we
Do you
missed,
think
though.
Spud Webb will ever be mentioned on this show again?
No.
Hope not.
Maybe in the context of you giving us bad information?
Maybe. Maybe. Wait, which Spud Webb?
Either one.
I wouldn't be shocked if the original Spud Webb was ever mentioned on the show again. I think it's unlikely.
We might have to bring him up if he wins the SoCon.
Yeah, if Georgia Southern's going to the SoCon and they're playing Michigan in the first round, we're going to talk about Spud Webb.
I'll be mad if I get an update on Spud Webb and Georgia Southern.
So you don't get into college basketball.
Why would I ever care about Georgia Southern?
There's a difference between getting into college basketball and watching the SoCon championship.
Right. There are.
But you told me you're not into it at all.
I'd watch.
This is one of my
paint
favorite
dry.
weeks. This is one of my favorite weeks of the college basketball, if not my favorite.
I'd
week.
watch paint dry before watching.
I'd make the argument that championship week is as good as the first week of March Madness.
You'd be wrong.
That's
but
so
okay.
false.
I don't know that it is, guys.
There is no greater singular event
Spectacle.
than
The opening weekend.
Yeah, the tournament in March. That is
Right, but
sports at its best.
But sports at its best are the conferences where only one team gets in.
No, that's not. Based on what? Who's ever said that sentence you just said?
No.
Many people.
You just made that up.
Watching Furman.
No, an auto bid who's going to get pantsed in the first round.
But they don't all get pants, Josh.
The majority of them do.
Well, maybe some of them.
The majority.
Some of them.
Maybe the majority.
No.
Historically, it's the majority. But who's to say?
Yeah, there's one Cinderella seemingly every year. I got to parse through how many auto bids are there for winning your conference?
There's 68 spots. It's somewhere in the 30s.
So I got to parse through 30 different teams and teams that aren't going to win past the first week to find the one.
Well, that's not true because
not like Loyola,
the Big
Chicago.
12 has an auto bid. The Big 10
Right,
has an
of
auto bid.
course.
The SEC has an auto bid. The
Of
ACC
course,
has an auto bid.
But those aren't as important because 6 teams from those conferences get it.
The WCC will have 3 teams in the tournament more than likely.
If you were to tell me the WCC was a Wisconsin conference, I would believe
It's the West Coast Conference. It's Gonzaga's conference.
Great.
Gonzaga, Santa Clara,
Yeah,
St. Mary's.
you can refer to it as Gonzaga's conference.
Well, St. Mary's is good.
Sure.
Santa
great.
Clara's had a good year.
Yeah, all those national championships they're hanging out. The Richmond Spiders.
I don't think they're in the WCC.
I know. That's why I'm. You're missing what I'm saying to you.
What are you talking about the Richmond Spiders for?
They're pointless teams.
Dayton Flyers.
Good for them.
I am going to get Josh.
No,
here we
won't.
go. Here we go. Captain Matty Ice. Watching Queens yesterday and learning there was a Queens University in Charlotte. Yes, that's true. Queen City.
See? That's not information I needed.
But I believe this Queens University is in Queens,
I'm
New York.
more interested in what Wandale Robinson means to the Titans than I am about Queens.
Which tells you a lot because you don't care.
Yeah.
All right, well, what do you got for us? What did we miss?
Yeah, I don't know if I think we kind of need to talk about this. So the World Baseball Classic, there is a pool in Japan, not an actual swimming pool, but a pool of teams playing. And this ice cream sandwich has started to go viral at the Tokyo Dome. I'll put it up here on the YouTube stream. It looks like it's got like an outer cone shell, and then it has ice cream on the inside. Some are calling it the greatest ice cream sandwich of all time.
That does look delicious.
It's been making its waves across social media, so I just wanted to bring that up to you guys.
I did see that the brand that makes this apparently makes a similar one that's available for retail.
Oh.
It's not shaped like the Tokyo Dome, but that little cross section with the bite out of that's asses and seats type ice cream sandwich.
Yeah, that looks. And granted, I am not a big ice cream guy to begin with.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this before. You guys make fun of me most times. But that looks like a delicacy.
Mm-hmm.
They have chocolate too, apparently.
Would you go chocolate or vanilla? Is it the same outer crust, or is the chocolate one chocolate crust?
I think it's chocolate crust too, because the packaging was different.
That's a little bit of chocolate overkill. Because if we went like vanilla outside with the chocolate inside, I think that'd be my jam.
I think it needs a little bit of like chocolate syrup on it though.
I
Something like
agree.
this.
A
Yeah.
little crust over
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
Klondike
Well,
bar.
because I mean, your normal ice cream sandwich is chocolate
Are you
outside,
guys
vanilla
old enough
inside.
to know the Klondike bar commercial
Yep.
and how famous those were?
What would you do for a Klondike
Yeah.
bar? Boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm very familiar.
Yeah. I didn't know if that predated you guys.
No, those
Klondike was
those are
killing the game
delicious.
for a long time.
They're still around, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're very delicious.
It's just Klondike was sort of revolutionary in terms of the sweet treat novelty ice cream thing, and now we've gotten to the point of
Well, I read the tweet. It said from Bay to Bay, and I went, uh-oh.
Former Buccaneers, 6-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Mike Evans is expected to sign a 3-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers.
That's interesting. 3-year deal.
Well, Brandon Ayuk quit.
Right.
Ricky Pearsall doesn't seem to be the prince that was promised.
Jawan Jennings is good.
Fine. I believe he's also a free agent, though.
Oh, is he?
Yes. It's just, I mean, that's an old team. And do we know how much he got?
Not
Seems
yet.
like he's going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, the rumor was he was somewhere in the $27 million category, just short of Alec Pierce. But we will see if that comes out here in the next couple seconds. But 3-year deal for him in San Francisco. That's a big one. Interesting.
Another breaking news right here. Steelers have agreed to a deal with cornerback Jamel Dean, 3-year deal worth $36.75 million.
So at 12.
So there's another cornerback off the board.
Who was that again? Say it again.
Jamel Dean.
To the Steelers, 3-year, $36 million.
I've tracked down the place that does the ice cream sandwich.
Okay.
Good transition.
If there's an H Mart nearby,
I don't know what that is.
Either do I. I believe it's a grocery store. If I were to use my thinking cap.
Why has he got to be such a jerk?
I mean, that's on you.
Yeah.
No, I connected the dots. I just have never heard of it.
They're called Imaraya Manaka chocolate frozen wafers ice cream sandwich.
Sounds good.
Need to make an AmFam one.
Yeah.
Like a
AmFam
3D?
Field.
Oh, yeah, great idea. All right, real quick, prediction time. Romeo Dobbs where?
I thought it was going to be San Francisco, honestly.
It made a lot of sense. I agree.
I don't know who else is in the running for a wide receiver.
New England?
New England. Carolina could make some sense.
What about the Colts? The Colts, I think, makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
him.
they've got no one.
Well,
And
they have
who
Alec Pierce.
Who better to replace a station-to-station guy in Michael Pittman than with a station-to-station guy like Romeo Dobbs? Fit right into that
It just
role.
makes so much sense. Like envisioning him in a Colts uniform.
Yeah. Everyone's saying, "Oh wow, look at this good Romeo Dobbs game."
I'm going to go with New England, but I think that
Don't
actually
do that
would
to
make
my
sense.
boy Drake May.
Your boy.
Don't do that to him.
Your boy.
Drake May might make him good though.
Hey.
Whoa.
Hey.
Sorry.
Hey.
Josh McDaniels might make him good.
Yes, that's what I meant.
I'll meet you there.
There you go. The Patriots offense might make him good.
You didn't. As somebody who has my tweet notifications on, you were stunningly silent on my question I posed about has Jerry Jones done more to help the Packers win the past 2 seasons than Matt LaFleur?
Yeah, the answer's no.
Oh,
You're just being a troll.
what?
Have you gotten any responses?
No, I've gotten 5 likes though.
Okay.
6.
Well, let's end that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's end that debate with this. No.
Well, it's a question many people are asking. I'm just the one brave enough
Many
to do
people
it.
are asking.
Yeah.
Did you see Zaire Franklin's "Thank You Indianapolis" post?
I saw that it was similar.
It looked just like Rashan Gary.
Right, and past that, I didn't read it.
Oh, zoom in. Have some fun with that picture in the background.
Why?
There's multiple men with 3 hands.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll happen.
pretty good stuff.
Thanks
Pretty
for
good
the
stuff.
like, Will.
Last thing before we go, we need a hot yoga update from Alex Strouf.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. I mean, it was fine, but I got in there, so I need to be full transparency with the MIA. So I went to hot yoga 7:30 a.m. Saturday morning. I got home from going out with friends who live in Utah, who are in town for the Jazz game.
Big drinkers.
Yeah, well, they're both from here.
They
just live
came
in Utah
all the
now.
way here to watch the Jazz play the Bucks.
Well, one of them works for the Jazz, so he was here for work.
And comment was because beer in Utah,
It's publicly owned, baby, or state owned, excuse me.
3.2%.
Yeah, that's true. Under 5,
Well,
and
they
can't buy it on Sundays.
They take your precious Miller High Life in this case, put more water in it.
Brutal.
It's unbelievable.
So anyway, we were out with them just catching up because we haven't seen them in months until about 1:45. So we got home probably around 2. I was up at 6:30.
Why do you do that to yourself?
Well, hot yoga. I'm getting there. So got into hot yoga. Walked into the place.
You must smell like a tavern in there.
I said, "Oh my goodness." I walked in and I immediately started sweating.
It hits you right in the face.
I mean,
how
it's
hot it
90
is.
degrees in there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
The one I go to is like 130.
I was
I thought-
talking to the woman who was leading the class, who was an absolute delight. She was a sweetheart.
I thought hot yoga implied enough.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that hot. Like very hot yoga.
It gets way hotter.
Yeah.
It's very hot
It's
yoga.
definitely hotter than 90 degrees.
And then you're doing all these exercises. You're going downward dog to whatever this is. I don't know. You're like on your legs. You're activating your core quite a bit. You're moving your legs. I mean, it stretched me out, but I was an absolute puddle after hot yoga. I was drenched. It was very gross. All right, that will do it for us today. We're back with you coming up on Wednesday. We will have plenty of more information on NFL free agency and what moves the Packers do or do not make between now and then. And Wednesday, of course, the start of the new league year, so all of these signings can be finalized.
Has there anyone gone off the board that you thought to yourself, I would have liked him to be a Packer? Because I haven't really noticed that.
Not really.
Jamel Dean, maybe.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
I mean, that's kind of wishful thinking.
Same, well, right, and that's the same with like Jalen Phillips, who's another guy. Son, I was
But
like,
that's
yeah,
like
that would've been
that's
nice.
like a depth piece. He's not like a
For
premier.
that price, I'm good.
I agree, but
Especially he's been hurt a lot.
we'll see.
Isn't there an infamous picture of him like with two
Yes,
knee
he like tore
braces
both of his ACLs or
That's
something.
correct. Yes.
And I'm glad he's come back and got to this point where he can make that much money. But that's tough looking.
I
photo.
actually do have one guy, Malik Willis. Would have liked him back.
Well, yeah.
All right, we're back with you on Wednesday, beginning at 12:30 Central, ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with us an extra 7 minutes today. Free agency special here on Mr. Irrelevant. KBN coming up in about 20 minutes as we continue to break all of this down. We will talk to you on Wednesday right here on Mr. Irrelevant. Peace.